All right, so everybody, before we get started here, and before I ask everybody to mute, I would like everyone to join me in saying welcome and thank you to our special guest tonight, Tyson Madigan from Cedar Ridge. Cheers.
Tyson,
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Hello.
Welcome. Okay, so everybody, if you, Eric, if you could please do me a favor and mute everybody except for you, me, and Tyson. All right, let me know when we're ready. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so Tyson, I've got to tell you something. This is a special. This is special. This is fun because we've been doing this now for about 2 years since COVID started, and I have to tell you something that we've never been approached for a new release before. Okay, we have had new releases on here, but not as like a special event. When we had Westland, we were, with Chris Riesbeck from Westland, back over the summer, we were the first people to taste one of their new releases, the Colari. But they didn't approach us scheduled for that. Okay. And the fact that you guys sent us that email, and I've got to tell you, your email was, the email that we got was really funny, I think, from Ann Ryerson. Ann's email was, would you guys like to? And it's like, are we going to say no? Does as the sales director, tell me, does anybody say no to those emails?
I mean, so it's kind of a newer thing. I obviously facilitate like barrel sales, and I do Zooms with like distributor partners all over the world and things of that nature. But it's not too often that I sit with whiskey groups in this kind of capacity. If I do, it's typically people that I have a pretty good relationship with already. And so I think she was kind of thinking, first of all, she said, you guys are just the best. So she goes, we are doing this huge expansion in Illinois this year. And she's like, I think you can see the commentary later.
Oh, yeah, the commentary sometimes can get distracting. I'm warning you, and sometimes off color too.
I love it. But I mean, I think that's the thing, is that it's, I think a whiskey lover will have any excuse to drink whiskey, but you never know who's a real whiskey lover. So you guys are just kind of, proving yourselves right now that you're a little.
Well, we were flattered. We were flattered. We appreciated it. Whenever I get emails like that, Eric and I send them out to a few people, and just to get their opinions. And the immediate response was, "What, is she kidding? Or is anybody going to say no to this? How does that work?" It's wonderful. So
who's this no to seeing this face and drinking whiskey?
Yeah, really, it just doesn't make sense to me. So I understand that you guys are very, very busy right now, because when Ann and I were scheduling this, obviously Murphy was very busy. You have all the new releases coming out. So are you all like taking over, just is each person doing like different tastings right now at different events? It must be like a very busy month for you.
No, so, with Murphy's, as being our head distiller and master blender, he's like the face of our whiskey, right? So, I'd say he typically, you'll see, like I told you, I can get colorful. He tends to speak the most eloquently. And, he definitely, as somebody who creates the whiskey, has a knowledge it's pretty much unparalleled, right? So, for me, I think that, we have our sales team that typically goes out and facilitates samplings and tastings all the time. And then, like I was telling you, I facilitate on-site barrel sales and tastings. And so, we're all just busy doing all kinds of things, but typically it's a sales kind of side. And the podcast and everything, though, those are reserved for Murphy. He's a special man with a special talent. And
Okay.
The rest of us, we
Okay.
do all the back of the house stuff. So if
All
you were
right,
to
well-
go out, Benny's, I'll be there. We were talking about Benny's earlier. Like I'm coming up for Whiskey Fest in May. It's
Right. So Whiskey Fest,
birthday.
actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to talk about that later. We have a few items on the calendar coming up, and so Whiskey Fest is on, was that May 13th? Yeah, it's on Friday, May 13th, and Benny's World of Whiskeys, in all likelihood, will be on Thursday, May 12th. We still do not know yet how many people Benny's is going to allow in for World of Whiskeys. They've been taking a very strict approach, with respect to COVID.
Mhm.
But what I will tell everybody is to stay tuned. Okay. But that week, the week of, the week that ends in Friday, May 13th, there will be many whiskey events going on in Chicago that week. Okay.
So May 14th is my birthday.
Oh, wow.
So,
Cool.
I mean, I'm gonna be coming up there for sure. And then there's Women of Whiskey at Benny's too. And I think
Bourbon
that's
Women,
gonna happen
right?
like,
That's Bourbon Women, right? The Bourbon Women.
yeah,
That's on Wednesday, the 11th.
yeah.
And actually, that's where I met Nick several years ago. Is at a Bourbon Women event. Nick Nagley from
That we were talking about
Whiskey
earlier. Yeah.
Acres, whom we were just talking about. That's where I met him several years ago. That's a
If he
great
ever
event.
watches this, Nick, he got my name right. I just wanted to tell you that.
Right, very good. All right, so you guys approached us, okay? Anne approached us about 2 special bottles, okay? We have 2 special bottles with us, 2 expressions. One of the expressions is a Benny's single barrel, very high proof, almost 60 proof. The other one is Portwood. Which one would you like us to taste first?
All right. So, I'm gonna go with port cask.
Okay.
And I'll tell you guys why, because what you just mentioned, I think the proof there and
Right. This one's in the right. This one is 94 proof. It's 47% ABV. So much lower. This is essentially regular strength as opposed to the cask strength that we have with the Benny's pick. So,
and I think if you guys take a good sip of, water in between room temperature, I think we'll be in a good place. So for those of you who haven't seen the bottle, it's this beautiful bottle right here.
Oh man, that is delicious. Okay, so tell us about this, because your Iowa straight bourbon whiskey is 43%. Okay, so this one, the port cask, is 47%. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about the differences between the juice that goes into your regular straight and this one? Okay, and then of course tell us about the port casks.
Yeah, so the great thing is that the 2 impressions we're trying tonight, just to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone, is that they all have the same mash bill, right? So this is actually our classic Iowa bourbon, and we take it and we additionally age it in some port casks. And for those of you who don't know or weren't on the last call, we actually are the only winery distillery in Iowa. And so we make our own wine, and port being one of them. And the great thing about that is then obviously as you empty a cask to bottle port, you can immediately fill a fresh cask, freshly emptied cask with bourbon. And
this is port. So this is port that is made by Cedar Ridge.
It is. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's an advantage that you guys have over other distilleries, is that you can control, exactly what is going into the casks that you're using for your finishing.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if we have this great continued growth that we have, that can stay that way forever. I know that we do source some port barrels for our single malt, but I think we're going to get to a place where, either way, the really awesome part is that you get that good influence in their freshly.
Now this is okay. So how long was it in the port cask?
So I believe this one was about 6 to 8 months. We go anywhere, and that's the hard part. I was going to ask Murphy. I didn't know if he wanted me to share his secrets,
He told us a lot.
Yeah. Okay. We usually go, the really cool thing is, depending on the time of year when he transfers those casks, I'd say it almost spends a year in the cask, but it'll slightly vary. But he does a really good job of, does he need to pull it into a climate control area so that it can kind of warm up the cask, and then again he throws it back outside. Right now it's 20 degrees. 3 days ago it was 50 degrees. So we get these large variances here, and does a lot for the whiskey.
So what about the mash bill? So let's compare the mash bills for your Iowa straight to the port.
So it's the exact same mash bill. So it's going to be 74% Iowa corn, and then you're going to get that 14% rye. And then the really unique thing about our bourbon that we talk about outside of the high family corn content is the high mash bill of barley, right?
Mhm.
It's pretty unique when you look at a
So the
bourbon
rest,
to
so the
see.
rest is barley.
Yep,
Okay,
yep,
so it'd be
12%.
12% barley, right?
Yep,
And remind me again, is the barley malted or not?
it is malted.
Okay, so these are the same mash bills, and one of them is distilled to, so one of them is bottled at 43%. The other one's bottled, the other one is bottled at 47% and then finished in the port cask.
Yeah, so basically we'll take, a 3-year bourbon and we'll move it over and it'll additionally age around a year. And you
Okay,
get
all
around a
right.
4-year product. That's pretty unique for us. I mean, people like to talk about age statement a lot. Um, one of it is, Todd said it, you're right, Todd. It is one of the highest barley contents on the market. It's pretty unique though to find a 4-year that drinks in this capacity. And I could talk about that all day about, the Benny's pick that you guys are going to try, our bottled and bond products. Our whiskey, we lose such a large amount and we get such a unique climate there in Iowa that it ages so rapidly. We get about 20% loss in 3 years.
Right.
I
Right. I
don't
mean, we've
really know
spoken to we've spoken to Jared Himstedt, from Balcones in Waco, Texas. It's
Yeah,
like, and then the evaporation they get there. We've spoken to
yeah.
people from
Let's
Amrut,
talk about the
in
humidity
India.
there, Gil. Let's talk
Right.
about the humidity. I
It's a
mean, I'm from
dry heat.
Texas.
Right. Right. It's a dry heat. Right.
It's
So
called dry heat. Yeah.
right. So there's another question. So I'm glad that you've been reading the chat. One question that we skipped over here. Can you talk about like how wet the port cask is when you put in the bourbon? Like do you pour the port right out and then do you pour the bourbon right in?
Yeah, it typically happens within the same day, but even if it doesn't, that barrel is very wet. We'll keep them inside until we transfer the liquid, but it usually happens within 24, 48 hours at most. The schedule is created around that specific piece and ensuring that we get, the freshest finish. And a lot of those port barrels are our own ex bourbon barrels as well. We definitely have also had some butts that we've sourced and we'll put port into and age them that way as well. But I think those guys, they know what they're doing back there in the production area and making sure that everything's very smooth, that we don't have a lot of space. If you guys ever come out and see us, we've definitely maximized our space on site, especially for a distillery that's going to, distill and create over 150 proof gallons this year. So
Wow, nice.
yeah.
And also I know that you guys were very proud of the fact that you're now the #1 selling bourbon in your home state. That was a big deal to get to that point, which is
Yeah.
very very exciting. So that's so congratulations for that.
Thank
But
you.
as far as availability is concerned, can you tell us about this port cask? Is it currently available in Illinois or will it be available soon?
Yeah, so it's not in Illinois currently. You guys are going to get an allocation. So we just got a new distributor partner in that market. They are the largest breakthrough. And so, we're going to kick off with them in March, April. So you should see this start to hit stores. It's going to hit your big whiskey places first
Yeah, of
because
course. Well, Benny's. I mean, Benny's will get it, I'm sure.
Benny's will get it. It'll be a small quantity though. So I'm only sending 100 cases to your state, and those are 6-pack cases. So it's really
Okay,
not a
so
lot,
okay, so
small
you
batch.
need to tell me when it comes to Illinois so that I can send out an email
Oh,
to
sure.
all of these nice people here so
Yeah.
that they can then go get some.
Yeah, I
Okay.
absolutely will.
Yes, you
will.
need to do that because people really are enjoying this. Okay, they really are enjoying this. This is wonderful stuff. Really liking this. This is great. By the way, Paul, who lives way up north, just asked, "Is Gold Eagle going to get any? Do you know?"
Yeah, I don't know, Paul, but this is the thing, but I'll make sure that we're going to take good care of Illinois. So we'll make sure you guys get your hands on a bottle and
Okay.
that we notify you guys where it's going first so you can go
Okay.
and buy a case.
Good. We also, by the way, have some people here from other states. Is this going to be available all over the country or only in selected areas?
It's actually going to only be available in Iowa and the contiguous. So I saw that it won't be available on the west or east coast
Becca
as of
just got
yet.
sad. Becca just got
I'm
sad. I saw the look on
sorry.
Becca's face. She just like she got a little sad there. I'm sorry, Becca. Okay, maybe one of us will do a road trip again. We'll buy some, and like Sandra will drive out there again for you. Okay, so this is amazing. Everybody's loving it. Let me ask you one other question before we go on to the Benny single cask. Can you tell us when you taste this? Okay,
Yeah.
what are you looking to, as a professional in the industry, as a sales director, can you tell us what you're picking up from this? Because we're getting different comments and I'm just curious about your opinions.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to talk about I'm typically in sales, we can very easily influence the opinions of others. So
We've already made
we
our
try
opinions.
only
We
to do
already
that
like
when
it. Yeah.
we're gonna get something. But I mean I get our podcast has a very classic taste. It is technically a ruby. But gosh, he does a good job. But I mean, I always get the corn that comes through, molasses, I get stone fruit. I mean, when somebody says rye, I can always taste the rye. I can always taste the barley. One of the things that made me fall in love with Cedar Ridge so much before I came to work here was our whiskey has an identity. And because we don't source it, it's 100% our own. And so I can pick this out of a lineup every day, all day. But
Nice.
I mean, to me, I always get like those really strong fruit notes in there.
Yeah, I'm getting like plums. I'm getting like really dark plums and
Yeah.
things like that. No, it's just, yeah, it's delicious. Wonderful. So single casks for retailers. Okay, Benny's
Yeah.
obviously is one of the biggest ones. They're very big in the marketplace. Can you tell us about what we are going to drink now? And again, I want to warn everybody, this is almost 120 proof. Okay, Benny's likes doing their single casks at high proof. We know that. So
Well,
tell
here's
us
what you're
about the
about to
mash
find
bill here.
out.
Is this the same mash bill?
It is. It's the same mash bill.
Okay.
So it's a single barrel version of that classic that you guys have tried,
Okay.
that you held up. The cool thing about our private barrel picks is they're hand selected. And I believe Benny's got to choose out of 4 or 5 barrels. It's typically a 3-barrel pick. And Murphy actually hand selected these barrels. So, we love Brett. We love Benny's. We love Illinois. We wanted to release casks in that market. There's a few others that have hit the market in the last year. We had a couple go to the Gage Group and Rogers Park and, the Yacht Club. So if you guys are ever out enjoying any of those areas, you can pick up, if they still have any, some of the liquid. But, that's the thing, is that we've been very careful about the product that we release as a single barrel. It has to be approved by us as well. And because we want the best liquid to lips here, right? And we want you guys to be able to try. That's what makes single barrels so great, right? Is that you're getting something that you don't get out of the regular batch. So we only release our barrels at cask strength now. We used to allow a couple other proofs, but every barrel that will hit the market in this year is basically sold, but is also will only be cask strength.
Okay, so I'm actually, because
Non-chill
I
filtered.
have some of the I have some, as I mentioned, I have some of the regular stuff here.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's I got to tell you that this cash strength, it doesn't need water. Okay,
Yeah.
and it's really good. I mean, it definitely has a punch, but it doesn't need water. It still goes down nicely. And compared to this, I almost shouldn't drink this after I had the cask strength. Okay, because this is so light compared to the cask strength. But when we tasted this originally, back with Murphy several months ago, everybody loved this bourbon. They thought it was amazing, and this is like a concentrated, more intense version of it.
Well,
Is
I
what I'm
appreciate
thinking.
that because, I love our classic bourbon. I think I know, I saw your, it's a great product. But our classic bourbon, it's not out there trying to compete with the massive, highly allocated items. It's not meant to compete with the port cask or the double barrel or a bottled and bond, right? It's meant to be that everyday drinker that you can easily slip on, that you don't feel bad about, sharing a bottle with the people who come over who, and killing 3 or 4 bottles, that you don't mind making an old fashioned out of it. That's all it's meant to be, right? So, I think the port cask, these seasonal releases that we do, if you could get your hand, we're gonna release a handful of cases of this in your market as well this year in April. The single barrel select that's hand selected by Murphy. If you guys can get your hands on a bottle of this,
What's the
now
difference between that?
know.
What's the difference between that and what we're drinking right now?
So this one is hand selected by Murphy. He goes out and, while let's say we're creating a batch of bourbon, right? 10 barrel batch. That's how we batch our small batch. And he samples a barrel and he's like, gosh, this is good. He'll sneak it away, or as we go to pick bottled and bond, he's like, this barrel is just too good to go into a batch.
I have to tell you something, I appreciate that because early in my whiskey experience back in the mid to late 90s, I was at a private tasting, a Binny's private tasting, a very high-end tasting for Macallan. And that was back when, and it was a fascinating tasting. They had the 12, the 15, the 18 Grand Reserve, 25 and 30. But here's the key thing. I mentioned 18 Grand Reserve. You don't see that on the shelves.
Yeah.
The master distiller who was there said that when he was picking out barrels for the regular 18, he found a few barrels that he thought were just too good to go into the 18. Okay.
Yeah.
And he said, and he almost apologized to the people who loved the 18. He said, that doesn't mean that, the 18 is not good. He just found some things that he thought were better, than the other casks. So
well,
he bottled that
would
separately.
find that funny. I mean, that's what happens. You would find it
Right.
funny. So we just did a barrel pick with Fred Minnick. And, we sent barrels to him to sample, and he picked the youngest barrel, you guys. So, I mean, age does not always mean the best,
Right.
and I think there's plenty of whiskey. We've all had plenty of whiskey that had a high age statement out there that we probably paid a pretty penny for, that once we cracked that seal, we were a little bit disappointed, right? So, I think the thing that's this particular bottle and release will always be determined by Murphy. It's his baby. It will always be when the whiskey's ready.
And that's called what's on that label? What does it say?
So it'll be a black label. It's called Single Barrel Select, or SBC.
Okay. And that's different from the single barrel that Binny selected, for instance.
Yes. So that one, I will say, that was some really good juice. That was meant to be part of probably the bottled and bond collection. I would say this is like your distiller's select, right? So, yeah.
Well, okay. So let's talk a little bit about cask strength stuff. So when you're drinking a cask strength whiskey, something that's this high, okay?
Yeah.
As drinkable as this is, do you still add water to it or not? And why?
Oh, I don't like to tell people how to drink their whiskey.
I didn't. No. I didn't tell you to tell. I didn't ask you to tell us how to do it. I asked you to tell us how you do it. We still make our own choices.
I just want to make that clear, though, Gil. You know what I mean? For me, absolutely. I honestly, whenever I buy a bottle of something we have, I try to drink it all kinds of different ways. I'll put an ice cube in it. I'll add water to it. I mean, I definitely am probably being a little bit of a hypocrite. I might make an old fashioned out of it. Honestly, this port cask.
What's wrong with that?
Well, this port cask that's what I mean. The port cask is a signature cocktail for us right now. And it started from employees. We had this manager on site, Andrew, and he would take the port cask and he put chocolate bitters in it. And it's delicious. It's the best old fashioned. So, I say drink it how you like it, but I think the only way you know how you like it is if you experiment. So
Got it. So when you typically drink cask strength whiskeys, are you adding water to them or not? No?
I am not.
Okay.
I drink out of
Nothing.
barrels a lot. So I
Mm,
drink cast strength a lot, trying stuff off the line. Fortunately enough, at our office, the production team comes across the way and says, "Hey, we need signatures." And typically I get to be one of those lucky people.
nice. Very,
So
very nice.
yeah,
Okay.
so a lot of the time
And
we
the
get to try cast
barrels.
strength and proof
Okay.
down.
So one last thing about the single cask before we open it up. Okay, to questions here from people. So the barrels that are used for the single cask are the same barrels that you're using for the flagship straight bourbon, right? This is the same. Everything is just at a higher proof, and it's a single barrel higher at a higher proof is what it is, right?
Yeah, it's just a single barrel pick of so when we do that batch, it's typically between at most 12 barrels, but typically between 10 and 12 barrels that will go into a batch. And so a single barrel pick will just be a single barrel pick version of that. And we don't age statement it because it can be minimum 3 years, but like the barrel you guys are drinking is well over that. So
And a barrel was that like 240 bottles or so? About 250?
yeah, it depends on the age and it depends on, the proof. If it comes out and what winters has it seen, we've pulled
Mm.
barrels and they're half empty sometimes. And obviously we try to catch leaky barrels just like any distillery, but we age in rick houses long, low, and wide, right? So it's a little easier for us typically to get to our barrels and knock a stave back in place. But yeah, I mean, there's no like right or wrong there as far as this particular product is definitely it's the same product, just a single barrel hand selected version.
Got it. And of course, the Binny's version is already on the shelves
Yes.
here in Chicago, and it's on
Yeah.
their website and everything. I think it's what's like $45 or something like that, or $49.
They have it at a stellar price. Yeah, it should be around 50. I'll say you'll probably see a slight lift in our barrel picks this next year as the demand is rise. Obviously, we also have the same issues that everybody else has. I don't know if you guys got into supply chain issues,
Oh yeah,
glass.
yeah.
Glass
We've definitely
costs
gotten
us
into
about
supply.
absorbent.
We're doing our first single cask pick. It's a Starward from Australia. We were supposed to have gotten it in October or November, and we don't have it yet. It's probably not happening until the end of March. Okay,
Hey,
but
we ship internationally, so I know because we sent some juice over to the Netherlands, and I think they just got it.
wow,
So,
wow,
yeah.
great. So Eric, do you have any questions for Tyson?
Yes, actually. Well, first of all, I wanted to say both of these are amazing. I did immediately go out and get one of the Binny's barrel picks, so I have a full bottle ready for me once the samples are done. I may have missed it at the beginning, but is the port going to be part of your regular line?
Oh, that's a great question. So, it's an annual release, so it is a permanent product within our line, but to be fair, it'll probably always be more of a highly allocated item. Um, you know, I think, like I was saying before, as we grow, there's probably the possibility if we could source port barrels um, that we'll be able to utilize and create more product. And I will be honest with you, we're very finicky about who we buy barrels from. I know our current port barrels that we source and our sherry butts that we source are, you know, 50, 80-year-old butts that are just massive, and we import them from overseas, and so they're very, very seasoned. But those, as you guys just heard, international products coming coming our way. So I know that it to be determined, but it's definitely a permanent product. And I would imagine that, we'll always reserve a good amount for Illinois. But it's probably, I think port cask is one of those things that people, we're also releasing a port cask rye at the end of the year. And so, yeah. So I think this is something, that you guys are are gonna find, because of our base whiskey is so unique, it creates a really good end product, in my opinion.
Awesome.
Oh, awesome.
Wonderful.
Looking forward to being able to get a hold of it. We might have to have you send us a special shipment of the port, the port, port
Rye?
bourbon and the port rye, so we can do a
Just
full
compare them.
tasting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not? We'll do it'll be a focus group, a big
Yes,
focus group.
Yeah.
Ariel
You guys are
Eisenberg.
on Anne's favorite list, so I mean,
Really? Oh, that's wonderful. We're very fortunate. We've come up with a format here that seems to work, and people are respectful and they ask good questions, except for this guy Ariel Eisenberg, who's about to talk. But other than that, we always have great questions and we have a lot of fun. So I'm glad that Anne enjoyed it and that Murphy had a good time with us too. It was really nice. And now we will hand it off to Mr. Ariel Eisenberg.
Hello, thank you so much for hosting this evening again and being our first second round pick. Distillery that sent us the second round. Two questions for you about the single barrel pick with Binny's versus the Black Label single barrel select. The only difference is whether Murray's picking it or I would assume Brent or someone under Brent is picking it.
Yeah, so I know that when we sent barrels to, and I probably made that sound a little confusing, but when we sent barrels to Brett, he, because of COVID and he wasn't able to come on site. And so Murphy hand selected some barrels that he had set aside. But it's not the same as far as, single barrel select is typically the oldest liquid on site, but it's also barrels that, Murphy goes back and tries over time to determine the best time to release them. And there's truly, last year we only released 2 barrels, right? So this isn't a product that, that will ever probably, you're not going to see where we're bottling like 100 barrels of it in a year. And it's really just meant to be that distiller's pick. Ideally, at first we were just going to release it at the distillery, but you can't really do that in Iowa. So we released half to the state and half to the distillery.
Is that going to be a similar price point as the single cask that we have in front of us?
Yeah, it'll run you around $69. Okay. So it'll be a little bit higher. Again,
so that's closer in price to like your single malt. Like it's more price like towards the single malt. Okay.
And honestly, I think like again with the chain supply issues and everything like that, and as we look at our bottling, I think it should be priced closer to 80. So I've seen some of our partners is priced between 70 and $80. That's really normal.
It's fair, totally reasonable. Yeah. Second question is when we had tried the port cask, there was an initial question about the bottling and whether it was going into the barrel wet. And, you had said that you're using Cedar Ridge port casks, but you had just talked about using or sourcing other port casks as well. So is there a percentage of port cask that is Cedar Ridge and a percentage of port cask that's sourced, or is that a different product line altogether?
So currently all of these are going in estate barrels. But for our single malt, our quintessential, we do source barrels for that. We use all kinds of barrels from all kinds of places. So I think as this product grows, I would imagine that there will come a time. I just don't want anyone to get too hung up on the fact that it's estate, that, it might move to that. But currently, as far as I know, they're all estate and they're wet barrels. So again, it's going straight from the ports being bottled, and then within that 24, 48 hours, it's kind of a production question, but I know that we don't have any space. So I know they have to be transferring it. It's probably right in the same day or the next day.
It's a cool like single detail, to sell the product to, like, hey, this is our own port casks. This isn't coming from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So,
well,
thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it is. The bigger part though, there is that you guys have to, the really cool thing is that it's aging process, that it's getting it's aging that quickly in such a short period of time, I think, because even if you look at the quintessential, when he ages, in some of those older port and sherry casks and, the Oloroso, like those, like I said, those butts are coming from across the way. Probably costs us thousands of dollars per butt. And you guys can joke about that one later. And the great part is that, it produces fantastic liquid. So we know the partners that we have are giving us good tools to use. So I don't have any fear that once it does transfer, if it ever transfers, as we grow, that it won't still be, a high quality product. Murphy's really got, he knows all of his partners by first name, right? He's been working with them for a number of years. I mean, we've been around since 2005. So
right. Yeah. And we've known about you for about a decade. So, this is great stuff. So Ariel, great questions. Let's go on to Todd Co.
Hey, again, thank you for these incredible samples. This is great stuff. Just to kind of piggyback on what Ariel was exploring with you, I'm wondering if there are any further plans to explore different barrel finishes, particularly with some of the other products that Cedar Ridge is putting out there. I know you have a lot of different wines and some other spirits. Can we look forward to other barrel finishes for your straight bourbon in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, as a growing distillery, as an emerging distillery, we have a lot of opportunities. And we have done some single barrel picks that are apple brandy barrel finished, rum barrel finished. Every year we release the Sir Maple, which is an ex maple syrup cask. And then we've additionally aged bourbon in it. So, I would say that there's a lot of opportunity there for us to grow. I don't think that you're going to see like some distilleries that I know, and especially craft distilleries where they, they're releasing a lot of single barrel picks that way. We want to stick with our flagship items, but I wouldn't be surprised, especially distillery exclusives, to see some pretty unique things come out in the future. And I mean, I'm definitely an advocate for it. I can tell you that much.
Are those things that Murphy's maybe playing around with, behind the scenes and seeing if something works, or can you not talk about such things?
like we've definitely released some single barrel picks in the past, aged in all those things, and every single one of them tasted really good. It really just comes down to, again, we've always used our own barrels. We've always used our own brandy barrels. And now we utilize all of those barrels. Instead of for bourbon, we use them for single malt. So as our single malt, loyalty base grows, we want to be able to reserve our best options for that versus us having to source barrels that we can already produce ourselves. So, every single brandy barrel that we bottle, which is an Iowa exclusive, basically. I think we sell a handful of cases in Wisconsin every year because those guys, they love it. But we try to keep here within Iowa.
Actually, Tyson, one thing you'll like that's really funny, and Todd, you'll enjoy this too. One of our friends, his name is Brent Karstensen. He and I and Todd, every year we host a craft whiskey table at a fundraiser for a homeless shelter that we support. So 20 minutes ago, I got a text from Karstensen. He lives in Iowa now, and he was actually at Cedar Ridge tonight for a gin cocktail workshop.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
I just got the text. I just looked at the picture and he sent me a picture of it, that he's at Cedar Ridge at a cocktail class at the distillery.
Of course.
Well, we don't talk about our gin, but you guys, it's delicious. Again, we don't sell it out. I mean, that's the thing. I just don't think there's a bad product that we put out, truthfully.
No, that's wonderful. Todd, do you have any other questions?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. So Tyson, I am going to ask you a few other questions because I've been emailing back and forth. Eric and I've been emailing back and forth with Murphy. Before I ask you this specific question, I do need to know the name, we sort of had fun with Murphy about this. We love the name Quintessential Single Malt. Okay, now you're one of the salespeople. Okay, was it you and your team that came up with that? Because he was sort of he's a little embarrassed by it.
You know, I'll be honest with you. I that wasn't my first pick. But you know, and I can't take credit for that. No, I did not come up with that name. But and definitely the Quint family was very hesitant. You know, they're very, again, they have that Midwest modesty. They're very humble. They are hardworking. They really exude what you think of when you think about like Midwest people, you know, in general. Like they're very genuine. And so, yeah, they did not want their name on the bottle.
It's such a great name, though. It's a great name.
Fit. I mean, you know what's hilarious is we call it the Quint, and Jeff Quint, our owner, you know, I know it bugs the hell out of him. I know he's like, don't call it that. Because again, he's so modest, but it's just the Quint. It's the Quint, man. So.
Oh, that's funny. No, I love that. That's great.
And they should be proud.
No, they should be proud. It's wonderful stuff. And I've got to tell you that when we had our first tasting with Murphy a little while back, everybody loved all the samples that we got, and everybody's loving this stuff too. It's all been great. And the other thing too that I love about it is that it's reasonably priced. Okay, your products are reasonably priced. You know, I think that they're priced to move, which is great. And you know, somebody here said that she's already drinking a bottle of the Quintessential that she bought after our last tasting. Other people have said that, you know, your straight bourbon is now their go-to. So this is all great stuff. One other thing that we've been talking about though with Murphy is he talked about what was it, Eric, that he said? Was it their Solera barreling or something, like like when they select certain barrels?
Yeah, they were going to do visit for the Solera bottling, where they dump all the bottles into the Solera.
Yeah, like when we marry them, when we marry the barrels together.
Yep, right. So how often is that done? Because he actually has offered to us that we put a group together to do a road trip out to Iowa and work with him on that day to do that kind of stuff.
Oh my gosh, you guys should do that. I mean, it's an incredibly, I mean, that's a once in a lifetime experience.
How
much
frequently
more
do you
rare
do
than
it?
a single barrel pick, you know? I mean, it just varies. It varies how much we sell, but you know, it takes about 3 weeks for a full batch to get like married together and to get it processed. My kids are at my door. They're laughing.
That's funny. I hear the kids. That's awesome. So I mean, we're pretty much, we're close to the witching hour. You know, gonna turn into
my
pumpkins.
name is the Whiskey Witch. I'm just saying.
Really?
So.
Nice. Is that your Instagram handle or something?
That's my Instagram handle is the real guys. No, for reals. Bye, Scout. Bye.
Many people here have kids. We understand. So really, you're the Whiskey Witch?
So my handle is the real Whiskey Witch on Instagram.
The real Whiskey Witch. That's wonderful. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. I love that. So we will be in touch with you and Murphy and Ann about scheduling something, because
you should.
So many people have said that they want to do it. You guys, how many hours are you from Chicago? Like 4 hours, 5 hours?
I mean, it's like 4 hours. And not only that, though, you know, what we do is we'll pool a bunch of barrels and you guys can, I mean, we did a pick recently. I didn't even know you were going to talk about this. I just had this bottle sitting on my desk.
I had a hunch you could handle the conversation. It's okay.
Yeah, this is all blended. This is from we did a Solera blend and I made my own Whiskey Witch. So Witch's whiskey blend.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, okay, we're going to do this. We will definitely do this. I'm thinking maybe sometime June or July, you know, maybe sometime June or July. Okay, looking at the calendar, so we have enough time to schedule this.
If that works
for you. Okay. All right. So we hear your kids laughing hilariously out there. That's great. We just lost Tyson, which is just hysterical. Yes, if I'm driving, we'll be there in 2 hours. You know, it's all good. So, all right.
Everyone's getting whiskey tonight in my house. So
are you going to give it to the kids, help them sleep? You know, that'll work too.
No, I won't do that.
Look, we know that you're obviously, you know, you have, you have maternal duties going on there because the kids are getting restless, and we understand. So what I'd like everybody to do right now is I'd like everybody to unmute. I'd like everybody, if you are so inclined, to, pour yourselves another dram. Since I'm fortunate enough to have a little bit more of the port cask here, I am pouring for myself some more of the port cask. And I'd like everybody to join me in saying thank you and cheers to our special guest, Tyson Madigan.
Thank you.
Cheers,
Thank you.
Do you have any final words for us? Tyson, any final words for us?
No, I mean, thank you guys. I really hope you guys do take advantage of that offer. It's very rare. Murphy's probably going to do, pushing it once a month, right?
Okay.
And the unique part is that we only empty it halfway every time we empty the Solera vat. And when he's creating his unique blend, it's just a special process to be part of, and then for you guys to be able to create your own too. So, how often do you get to come and drink out of barrels with people that you love and get experience Iowa?
This
Iowa
is
nice.
great. Now, Tyson, I got to tell you, this has been great. We really, we appreciate the number of, the levels of decision making that led to this. We love that, you guys approached us to do this, and that we made this happen, and that we were able to schedule this. It's a special event to do this. And please let us know again when the port cask is available here in Chicago. And if everything does work out well, we will see you in May when you're here in Chicago. And if you're in Chicago on the Saturday night for your birthday, maybe there's a Delilah's meetup at that point, to help celebrate the birthday.
Oh,
that'll be part of it. But again, everybody, thank you very much. Cheers, and hang around for the after party if you're so inclined.